This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And free dining is not only back, it's been extended. That's right. There are select dates through the end of the year where free dining has been extended all the way through the end of the year. There's lots of date periods, so you're going to go check it out. And you know what? Just go to mousefantravel.com. They've got all the dates there. See if it applies to you. And you know what? Why not book that next trip with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel? They can book free dining for you through the rest of the year. Check them out at www.mousefantravel.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, July 7th, 2010, and this is episode 743 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hochberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Len, often in these intros, I like to poke a little fun at something or someone, but in this time, I'm actually going to offer some useful advice, if I may.
Please.
With the free dining being extended, as I mentioned in the ad read, you know, it behooves people, if you're looking to book, if you've been sitting on the fence about a trip or something for the rest of the year, would you not agree that you should make your your dining reservations rather now, even if you're not on free dining? Because free dining tends to cannibalize all the...
Cannibalize. Excellent choice of words.
Does it cannibalize? I mean, take up quickly.
It tends to suck through the straw of capacity and... gorge itself on the carcass of availability or something like that.
It's the fork in the road of life.
ADRs go quickly, so book yours now.
That's great.
Also joining us on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks, Matt.
And Mike, how was the Weird Al show, by the way?
Oh, he's awesome, as always.
Did he sing, not Gangster's Paradise, Amish Paradise?
Oh, heck yeah. In costume.
Oh. Best song ever.
It is the best song ever.
Love it. Also joining us on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer for alleears.net and big fan of Coolio, might I add. Welcome, Mike.
Yo. A house divided against itself cannot stand.
I'll go with Hall of Presidents.
You are correct.
He had a 50-50 shot at that one.
I know, really.
It was either that or American Adventure.
Yeah.
Also joining us on today's show is the fabulous Annette Owens, a manager for customer relations and group services for MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Welcome back to the show, Annette.
Hey, nice to be back.
Great. And we're going to jump right into our emails because it's Wednesday and we're answering your listener questions. First email is from John from Massachusetts, otherwise known as Jaco Direwolf on WDW Today and Subsonic. Hoorah!
Hoorah.
He writes, greetings, Matt and the rest of the WDW Today crew. We all know that the iPhone 4 is simply the coolest phone in the world, and the only service provider in the U.S. is some small cell phone carrier, name withheld, whose network can't really handle the device. So the provider doesn't allow cool people, that would be people with previously talked about cool device, to download more than 20 megabytes as a single file. Warning, technobabble follows. I've noticed that in previous episodes of WDW Today that the show's been posted at 96 kilobytes per second, which makes the file an average of over 20 megabytes. If you drop it down to 64 kilobytes per second, then the file would be 15.5 megabytes, which would then allow you to download WDW Today on the fly on your iPhone 4. So just a thought, if you guys had ever considered that, as it would make it a whole lot easier to be able to download it over 3G instead of Wi-Fi. What do you think of that, Noel?
Go with Verizon Wireless. You wouldn't have this problem. Next.
Next email. Thank you, John.
No, there's a reason why, in all honesty, some of the Flash players won't play anything but 9600 that we have around, so that's why it's at 96.
There you go. Also joining. Next email is from Hans from Bloomington, Indiana.
Hans!
Adelma on the boards and all that. Hoorah!
Hoorah!
Right, so we're planning a very large family vacation for next May on the Disney Dream, working, of course, with the lovely and talented Annette. Ooh, name dropping.
Yeah.
Everyone I talk to says that a 4-day cruise, however, all of my family is leaning towards a 3-day cruise, as it will be the first cruise for many of us. Would you be dears and give me the pros and cons, or just convince me that 4 is better than 3?
4 is better than 3. You really want that day at sea so you can enjoy the ship. On a 3-night, by the time you get on the ship, it's time to pack and get off.
Yeah, 3 nights is just too short. You got to go for 40, especially if it's your first time. Get a taste of it. 3 nights are really for people who've done cruises before and want to have, a quick getaway. You know what I mean? Because they're over the weekends usually. So that's why I would recommend a 3. But first time, you got to go for 4. It gives you a good taste. Like in Netside, you get that sea day, and you get port days and stuff. I think it's a much better experience. Newell, what do you think?
The Dream's a lot larger ship, so they're going to need the extra time to get around, see.
Oh, good point. Good point. I forgot about that.
See some things. Yep.
Newell, you agree?
Wow. When I went first time, I did the 3-night because I wasn't sure what to expect. And I wasn't sure if me or Mary were going to get seasick. So I figured the less of the two evils would have been a good idea. Seeing that neither of us had gotten sick and we actually loved it, the 4-night would probably be my guess. The 1 day at sea is also a plus in my book.
Absolutely. Next email is from Jared from New York, Jay Rocksteady on WDWToday.com. Hoorah! Hoorah! Of course, Jared's the guy who did our WDW Today theme song.
Our personal band.
There you go. The house band of WDW Today.
He gets a
hoorah! Ooh, the real one.
Yeah.
I noticed you guys haven't really gone in depth about the live performances in World Showcase. Now, we all know that Off Kilter is probably the best band in Walt Disney World, and Voices of Liberty is phenomenal, but how do you feel about the other performers? The Dragon, Legend, Acrobats in China, Miyuki in Japan, the Comic Waiter, Mo Rockin, the World Showcase players in Italy, UK, etc. Whenever I'm drinking around the world, yes, I've made it all the way around without getting sick or passing out, it's always fun to stop and watch the full sets. It's a great way to spend the day if you're on a long trip and just want to really stop in and take the beauty of Epcot. So what do you guys think?
I like Moroccan, actually.
Yeah, Moroccan's pretty good. It's interesting. The one thing I don't like is the Acrobats in China. That one doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, you see it once and it's like, okay, kids are naturally bendy anyway. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I'm walking through a mall, I grab a random 4-year-old and I bend them into a pretzel shape and I give them back to their parent.
Well, I say do that to Hannah. See how well she likes that.
She's 12 now, so I can't. But
that's
totally
too old. Oh, I see.
Well, Len is legally obliged to say that. That's all.
I disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that in Disney, which is so audio animatronic friendly, to have live performances, whether or not they're acrobats or musical performances, is a real treat.
See, the thing, I agree with you in principle, Mike. The acrobats don't do anything for me because, Mike, how many times, being in New York City, you see acrobats, I use that word loosely, in the subway and buses and everywhere. I mean, in stations, I mean, every 4 feet. You know what I mean? It's not, but that isn't that exciting to me. The other ones are very, like the one in France, that one is pretty cool.
But they're still fun to watch.
I guess. I don't know.
I mean,
the acrobats just do anything for me.
We complain we're walking around, it's so hot, and these guys are climbing up on top of each other at 30 feet in the air. I mean, it's pretty cool.
It's true. Scopa, what's your favorite acts?
Oh man, over the years I've seen the number of live acts go down so much. I really long for the 80s and 90s when every time you turned around there was some live act. I do like. I happen to be accosted by the guys in Italy, and I was like Romeo and Sophia or whatever. That was pretty funny. I really like the guy with the whistle in Italy that's throwing the balls to the kids holding.
Oh yeah,
net.
the juggler dude.
Yeah, it's it's pretty. I like him. I think I like him of all the best. I think, yeah.
Speaking of acts that are gone, Mike, weren't you a big fan of the statues, the human statues that they used to have? I think it was in France.
Yeah, the living statues are pretty good. You know what I really, really enjoyed and I missed? I can remember back in the 90s walking through the Magic Kingdom, and every once in a while the Walt Disney World All-American College Band would pop out of nowhere and do things. I remember one time in Liberty Square, they surrounded everybody with circle, and they were doing television theme songs, and everybody had to guess them. I mean, that kind of stuff I really miss. It seemed like it was so spontaneous, and you never knew when you were going to be entertained. So I really miss the live entertainment that Walt Disney World used to have.
Cool. Next email is from Christy from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Hi, gang. I'm a big fan of the show and hope you'll answer some of my questions about my upcoming trip to the world. We'll be staying at the Wilderness Lodge in a club-level room. Do you still have to pay for valet parking when staying in a concierge room? Yes. I've heard that Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Next question. Is there much of a difference between the club levels at the various deluxe resorts? We've never stayed at Wilderness Lodge before, but have stayed at the other deluxe resorts, but never club level. Is any club better or offers more amenities? Len, you want to kind of give the 30 seconds?
I've stayed every concierge, I think, in Walt Disney World. So I've heard, actually, they're looking to standardize the offerings for most of the club level places, so everyone's going to get the same food. I don't know if that's necessarily true though, because you can't tell me that the Polynesian's always going to get the same food as the Grand Floridian or the Contemporary. It's just two completely different things.
No.
Yeah, but there's a I think to get rid of the disparity between the club levels, Disney is trying to standardize what the basic offerings are every day. But Matt, you and I stayed at the Polynesian that one time where you were staying at the Poly Room.
Yes.
And we all, and like 14 of us met you in the club lounge to eat the turkey dinner before we went to the Magic Kingdom.
That was the best day ever.
That was best day ever. So I really like the Poly Club level. People have said the Grand Floridian is greatly improved. I like the Animal Kingdom Lodge. I don't think much of either the Yacht or Beach Club. I think they're just average, and for the money, they're definitely not worth it.
Becky Minkin of Mouse Fan Travel stayed at the Yacht and Beach Club. She said they recently changed it, because I agree with you, Len. It used to be just, really bad.
I was there in December. What did she say?
I don't remember when she told me that. She told me that it was recently rehabbed, so I don't know when it happened. In the last 6 months, maybe. But it used to be terrible. Yeah, it was just. What do you think of the Wilderness Lodge one? I've stayed there, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I remember it being smaller and less developed than the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Polynesian, and then there's everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
The Polynesian is the best because it offers not only great foods, it's got its own kitchen there, but it's open all the time. Like, it's access. You can go in and grab like a soda or some chips. Whereas like Wilderness Lodge, for instance, it's only open at certain times of the day. And so if you're thirsty at midnight, good luck. You're not getting any drinks out of there. And that bothers
soup
me.
For you.
Exactly.
Well, and you can't beat the view from the lounge either at the Poly.
That's a great point. Chris has one last question. We're considering taking a fireworks cruise. Would you recommend the Illuminations cruise?
Well, it's one of those things where you almost have to say you really should try it once,
Yeah, well, we have a good friend of the show, Mike Scabetta, is a skipper for one of the Illuminations cruise boats. Actually, you can hear his episode. I forget which episode it is. Check the WDW Today wiki for which episode. He does a great job at it. It is pricey, but all those fireworks cruises are pricey. Go ahead, sir.
Let's just say, Matt, if you arrange to do it with a large group, then it won't be that pricey if everybody shares the cost. Was it 10 Mike can put on a boat? Is that it? 8 or 10?
I believe, yeah, but I think it's somewhere at least 8, if not more than that, on the pontoon boats for sure.
Yeah,
and definitely look at Illuminations over Wishes.
Yeah, the Wishes.
Better.
Yeah, the Wishes cruise stinks. Next email's from Jeff from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Writes, hi all. We just returned from Walt Disney World and took advantage of the free dining offer. You can imagine which year this is from. My wife and I were traveling with our 2 kids, ages 5 and 8. When we were at Columbia Harbor House on our first day, we asked a cast member taking our order if our son could get the tuna sandwich instead of the kids' meal. They told us that if we come up to order without the kids so they don't see them, they could do this. The meals on our cards are just coded as counter service, not specifically kids counter service. So as long as we ordered the meals without the kids there, we wouldn't force us to order off the kids' menu. When paying, we were only asked for one card, and we used one of the adult cards instead of the kids' cards. We did this for the rest of the trip and never had a problem. We never told we had X number of kids' meals left, nor were we ever forced to order from a certain menu. Good. Well, good tip. If you got kids and, they're technically called kids by Disney, but, they're a little bigger eaters, so thank you for the tip. Next email is from Bruce from Quakertown, Pennsylvania. Was kind of hoping... Oh, the subject line of this email, by the way, is I loves Matt Hochberg. He writes, kind of hoping that the subject line would get me to the top of the list. I know there is no chance of this being answered before our upcoming trip, but here goes anyway. I've scheduled a trip with my family the first week of December and wanted to know if you heard any rumors whether... Oh, boy.
Free dining's coming back?
No, Space Mountain is going to reopen.
Oh, no.
Jeez.
Yes, it did, Bruce.
You thought you were ahead of the game on that one, didn't you?
I thought I skipped the bullet, but nope, it was a double tap right there. Next email is from Chris, who writes, I love your show. It has a great mix of humor and information. All of you do a great job. I'm Chris from Ashawaubenon. Actually, I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado, but I really wanted to hear Matt say Ashawaubenon. We'll be staying at the World in May with 3 kids, ages 8, 10, and 11. We'll be staying at Port Orleans and at the parks for 7 days. I always hear how important taking breaks is, but what time do you recommend taking your break in each of the parks?
2:37.
Such as go to the Magic Kingdom and be there at opening, no extra magic hours. What time would you go back to the hotel to take a break? Then, what time would you be back to the Magic Kingdom to resume touring later that night? Again, no extra magic hours. So, Len, what do you think about what times would you say?
With kids?
Yes,
Doesn't say.
8, 10, and 11.
Those are older. I would say, you want to leave or 12:30ish, either right before or right after lunch.
Yeah.
Remember, we talked about this at a couple of previous shows where I actually had unofficial guide researchers walk around the park and listen for the times at which kids started screaming.
I bet I know what time. I bet it was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
This was actually, they started around 11:30.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so which tells you. Yeah.
Kids should leave the park from 11:30 to 5.
Yeah, exactly. Go take naps, all y'all.
My inclination was around noontime, so 11:30 makes sense. I mean, get in there right after park opening. Stay, especially in the summer hours when it's really hot out. It's another thing if you're in like February and the temperatures are okay. But 12 o'clock lunchtime, like you said, Len. Then what time would you recommend coming back?
During summer, 5, 6. You want to take a good 4-hour, nap, and that gives you enough time to get back to the hotel, relax, clean up, take a nap, wake up, grab a quick bite to eat, take a quick dip in the pool, something like that, and then head back to the park. I mean, if you're taking Disney transportation, figure 30 minutes to get out of the park and back to your hotel, right?
Right.
That's 1 o'clock. Another half hour to get the kids settled. It's 1:30. Hour and a half, 2-hour nap. What? 3 o'clock, 3:30? Wake up, go to the pool, grab something to eat. You come back around 6. I think that's great.
How about
by then it's it's a lot cooler too.
How about Animal Kingdom? Would you take a break or just finish touring and then go back to the hotel?
Gut it out and get it over with.
That's right.
Like ripping a Band-Aid off. You just want to get it done as quickly as possible.
Very good. Yeah. Next email is from Amanda from Barcelona, Spain.
Barcelona.
In episode 639, a listener asked about good free newspapers you can pick up with local events and information. As an Orlando native, us locals use the Orlando native in Barcelona. Anyway, as an
She's an Orlando native. She's in Barcelona.
Oh, right, got it.
Matt, everyone goes on the lam at some point in their lives.
Us locals use the Orlando Weekly to get movie times, dining reviews, local event and music information, attraction information, prices, etc. They have a website, and you can get the paper in most big bookstores, the English-Irish pubs, and a lot of places downtown, or ask a local where to find them. It's quite large, and I've always used it to like a weekend planning Bible. Mike, I guess that's like the Village Voice for Orlando.
There you go.
Except not so interesting ads in the back. Next email is from Steve from Orlando.
Steve.
Yes. Having been down to the world for 20 years, I found that my favorite restaurants to let's try that again.
Steve.
Having been down here by the world for 20 years, I found that that favorite restaurants go down in quality, and some less than favorite restaurants all of a sudden become great. So what I've learned to do is do more background checks to find out where certain chefs are working to be able to suggest great restaurants. Chico is a great example of a restaurant that has become great with a chef move. I was wondering if you had similar observations.
It's weird. I know Disney randomly reassigns chefs every once in a while, but I don't know if there's a rhyme or a reason to it. Like I know when the chef for Le Cellier got reassigned to, was it Flying Fish? Flying Fish went up and Le Cellier went down.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I just know that there's one chef, Chef TJ, I hear him on about all the time on various message boards and podcasts and things like that. And he's like a legend. I mean, wherever he goes, it's like the Midas touch for the guy.
Yep.
So, I mean, there are certain chefs that almost have that kind of a cult following at this point. But you're right. I mean, certainly there definitely is I think Steve's observation is warranted. It definitely does happen. And it's too bad they can't be a little more consistent, but at least, some restaurants get some attention every now and then. Next email is from...
we should totally start tracking that in the unofficial guide.
Ooh, there you go.
Totally.
That's a great idea.
It is.
I'll take credit for it.
Okay.
Next email is from David, who writes, hey guys, and anyone else that might be in attendance. About a year behind in listening to your show, so there might be a lot of changes. I have several questions about a trip I'm planning, but will ask only one at a time. The trip is either for late 2011 or more likely late 2012. It depends on whether I hit the lottery or not. A little background. I'm a U.S. citizen living in Australia for the past 10 years. I see. There you go, Len. Another guy on the lam.
There you go.
I'm married to an Australian and we have 2 kids, ages 6 and 4, at the time of this writing. They've never been to the U.S. Or anything like Walt Disney World, so my trip will basically be a once-in-a-lifetime event unless the aforementioned lottery occurs. I'm planning a 2-month vacation sometime between the middle of November and the middle of January. We want to spend the holidays with the family in Texas. We also want to do traveling, and Walt Disney World is my number one destination. I've been 8 times, the last in 2000, but the family has never been to anything that remotely resembles Walt Disney World. So, my question, long way to get there, is what do you guys think? Is there some way I can save money during 2 trips a month apart, or do you think it would be better for one long trip? Do you think the anticipation level and the excitement level will be greater if I split the trip into 2?
I think the one benefit I think of from 2 trips is that you could do the first trip, reflect on what went well and what didn't, and then make adjustments for your second trip.
Mm-hmm.
I guess technically you could do that for the if it was one long trip too. You just have to stop yourself. You just have to stop yourself.
Right. What do you think
through.
about? What do you think, Scopa?
Oh, there's pros and cons. Len makes a good point. How close would these 2 trips be, by the way?
It was in where's that email go? Did I delete it? No, it's still here. Within the same month, so it would be like once the beginning, once the later on.
Well, I think that you can make the argument that with airfare the way it is, maybe you go for the longer trip rather than spend twice as much airfare. You could do it. You could use that as an excuse to make a case for one long trip. I think that Len's thoughts on you can learn something from the first trip and make that adjustment for the second trip. You could probably do that also if you had one long trip. You could say, okay, for the first half, we'll sit back and see what we did wrong, and let's not make the same mistake for the second half. It also would depend upon how long that long trip is. If we're talking 2 weeks, I'd say go for it.
Okay, makes sense. Mm-hmm. Next email is from David, who writes, I've read that during New Year's Eve there's a special fireworks show at Hollywood Studios. Do you know if they'll have this year? And if so, what's the best place to watch it?
They didn't have one. No, they don't.
They do have a fireworks show at the studios. They've had it for the past couple of years. They have a special one for July 4th and New Year's Eve. The New Year's Eve show is much better than the July 4th show. The New Year's Eve one, the best place to watch it is definitely going to be about halfway down. Actually, I used to say it was halfway down Hollywood Boulevard, but in 2000, going into 2010, they did something different, which was really cool. They had fireworks behind the Sorcerer's Hat like usual, but then they also had fireworks going on down Hollywood Boulevard. So I was standing in the middle of Hollywood Boulevard, right by the tip board, and I was doing a lot of like turning one way and then doing a 180-degree turn and like doing that back and forth. So if they're going to continue that for next year, I would recommend actually standing by back by Crossroads of the World, which is that little gift shop with the spinning Mickey at the top of it. And that way you can see the whole perspective of everything going on over there. And you also get to leave the park really quickly afterwards, which is nice.
Cool.
Next email is from... What is our next email from? Oh, it is from Adam from the United Kingdom. Writes, my family and I are regular Disney World visitors ever since our first trip in 1997. We always stay on property at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort. I have to agree with your recommendation to stay here if you need to use Disney transportation, as we go everywhere by Disney bus or taxi cab. The other reason for us is the poolside bar at the resort, the Banana Cabana. The employees working here always treat us well. And
Banana Cabana?
Banana Cabana.
I love it.
And now our entire party is over 21. It's a great way to unwind at the end of the day. My question is, if any of the team can recommend any other places around Walt Disney World to enjoy a cold beer on a hot day, as we intended to take it much easier on ourselves than our previous trips.
The third floor balcony of Pop Century. Just you throw your cans out over the side and see if you can get close to small children.
Seriously, I would recommend the bar. The bar at Port Orleans French Quarter. They actually I don't know if they bus it in, but they ship in beer from the special beer that's brewed in New Orleans. It's a microbrewery, and it's pretty cool that you can get something other than Bud or Amstel. The other one is at Saratoga Springs at the bar next to the Turf Club restaurant. They also have a special microbrewery from Saratoga, New York. And that one's very good. I love that beer. Next email is who's our next email from? Oh, it's from Brett in New Hampshire. Cousin Mickey doesn't talk about on the boards, and and the cousin Mickey doesn't talk about .blogspot.com. I used a well-known Disney travel agent for my trip in February and March 2010, and I don't think it was Annette.
I don't think so, guys.
I really not impressed, and I was regretting using them.
Annette.
No, there are a ton of Disney travel agents. I was hoping you could refer a few. I know Mouse and Travel will be on your list.
Another try.
But are there any others?
Annette.
There are. I would, what I would really recommend doing with any travel agent really is, look for reviews. Finding the big ones isn't too terribly hard to find on the internet. I've used Mouse and Travel personally, so I can only speak from personal experience. They're the only ones I've used, I think. So with that being said, I would, rather than me just start spouting out names on travel agents I haven't used, I would recommend, do some Googling out there. Go out there, find some travel agents that, look, it's not very hard to Google Disney travel agent. Find a couple, do some Google research and see what you can find on them. Look for, firsthand reviews and things like that and make an informed decision. That's always a smart thing to do. Mike Newell, I think it's time for our last email of the day. Would you agree?
I would agree.
All right, it's time for our last email of the day, and that means I'll give Mr. Newell 3 emails to choose from. One gets read today. The other 2 go back into the email queue to be answered later. Ready, Mike?
Let's do it.
All right, your first option is, you Americans are such lightweights. Oh, and I found the answer to my marriage-ending question. That's one email.
Okay.
2, I wanted to throw someone under the bus. 3, how do you say stay away in Greek?
Well, I think keeping in the Independence Day week that we've had of our independence from the great United Kingdom, let's go with the first one.
All right, our last email today is from Jen from North Yorkshire, England. All right, hey, friends. First things first, any chance of a live show that doesn't start at 1 a.m. for me? I get up for work at 5:30 a.m., darn horses. So staying up to call at 1 or 2 a.m. is impossible for me, but I would love to call sometime. No, we had of course, the infamous UK show a couple of years ago, but maybe we'll have to revisit that idea.
Sure, I can squeeze it into the 99 other things that I do.
Sure.
No, I would love to do that again. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, very nice. Secondly, I just listened to your June live show, and you were talking about drinking around the world as though it was equivalent to climbing Everest. My dad and husband can manage this feat with ease. They aren't alcoholics, but are seasoned drinkers, and my dad would think nothing of having 3 in the Rose and Crown before moving on to the rest of the world. All in the matter of hours, I may add. I made him sound so bad. But it seems that I've noticed that Brits seem to drink a lot more than Americans. Len, fair or foul?
I think the beer is stronger, right?
That's true. Yes, the alcohol even in Canada is stronger than in America. You're right.
Thicker. Yep.
Yeah.
Stronger.
Thirdly, I won't be there for my mam's birthday dinner this year, but wanted to go to a nice Italian on property, so I booked Il Molino. I haven't been there for 7 years, so I'm guessing really. She'll be with my sister, 18, and a friend of the family who is a boy, 10, and 6-year-old twins. Any better suggestions? It's for August 18th of this year. She doesn't know anything remotely. She doesn't eat anything remotely spicy. I ate at Il Molino one time when it first opened, and I really was not a fan of it.
Me neither.
It's very expensive, and I wasn't that impressed by the food.
Yeah, me neither.
So for Italian, what would you recommend, Len?
I like Tutto Italia. I know Scopa doesn't.
Okay. I would rather go to Tutto Italia. Yes, I would rather go there than Il Molino. That's for sure.
Tutto Italia.
Scopa, are you still down on it?
I'm still waiting for a good Italian restaurant to open up in the whole state of Florida.
Oh, snap.
Or the entire state of Florida.
That's right.
And finally, do you know how soul-crushing it is when your question is one of the 3 to be picked from and Mike doesn't choose it? I almost cried. It turns out that when my husband said his colleague was a Disney dean, he meant freak, but the predictive text on his iPhone took over. Anyway, sorry to be waffling for the ages. Thanks for the hard work you put in. You guys are the friendliest people I know, and I haven't even a chance to meet anyone yet. Hope to meet you when I finally get back to Florida. After a mortgage, university tuition, and a couple of horses, holidays are not on the top of the list. Very nice.
I didn't know there was such pressure.
That's right. That's right, Mike. You're crushing people's hopes.
Now I won't be able to sleep.
Yes, poor Dennis from Canton, Ohio, and Don from Algonquin, Illinois. Those guys are just crying right now.
Sorry.
Well, anyway, that's sorry, bro. Well, that's do it for us today. Don't forget, this episode of WDW Today has been sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And guess what? Free dining's been extended. If you book by August 14th, 2010, for some stays between August 15th, 2010 to December 21st, you can get free dining. Lots of things to consider and lots of requirements, but check them out. Lots of blackout dates may apply. Check them out. All the details at www.mousefantravel.com. And of course, our next live show is on July 18th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Check us out for sure. That's to do it for us today. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, you can visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, and the fabulous Annette Owens, I'm Matt Hochberg. See you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.